everybody, and welcome back to A Court of Words and Pages. My name is Natalie. So today's video is going to be all about books that I loved when I read them, or at least I thought I loved them, and now I couldn't tell you the slightest thing about them. I don't love them anymore, and I'm honestly confused as to why I thought I loved them when I read them. So I came across this video idea when I was scrolling through books I'd rated highly on Goodreads for another video. There were so many books that I was like, oh my god, I've completely forgot about them. Why have I rated that so high? And so I continued to scroll, and I think I used to rate books just so much higher than I actually felt about them, and wasn't like realizing that like you don't have to like every single book you read. It's like I do tend to like most books that I read because I try to look for the good things in books. I mean, no one wants to read a book that they're not enjoying, so I try to make it so I enjoy a book. But I have developed a certain taste now where I acknowledge when I didn't like a book, or acknowledge while I'm reading the book that I don't like it, and then DNF it. But I just didn't really used to do that. So now I have just these books and I'm like, I didn't actually love this as much as I did. So I'm going to chat out about like 5 that I had this situation with. So let's get into it. The first one is Panic by Lauren Oliver. And I can tell you exactly why I marked this as a 4-star book. I thought I loved it. It's because I think I read this in 2019, fall of 2019, because I'd read Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver and absolutely love it. I still will stand by that that was an amazing book, and it was one of my favorite books when I read it. Maybe not anymore, but it was a really good book when I first read it. So that led me to read a bunch of other stuff by Lauren Oliver. Specifically, the 2 next things I picked up were Delirium and Panic. Delirium, I could kind of accept that I didn't love as much because I think I could accept that it wasn't exactly my taste. It was like a YA dystopian love story, and I could just accept that. Don't love that as much. But God, Panic, I just wanted to love so much because it had a really interesting concept. So this book we follow Heather and Dodge, who both get wrapped up into this game called Panic, which is played in their small town. And it's basically high-stakes games like a bunch of dares. And it's just basically following the 2 of them as they played this game. So I wanted to love this book because 1, it was Lauren Oliver, and 2, kind of the concept reminded me of the movie, or also book, Nerve, which I loved the movie, didn't like the book as much, but it reminded me a lot of that. And while yes, the concept of the game is similar, the execution in Panic just, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. I didn't enjoy the characters, and I think I'm just overall very disappointed with the plot in the book and the turns that it was taken. I think, yes, I did enjoy the challenges and game aspect of it, but everything else just fell so flat. It just, in general, wasn't a book that I enjoyed, but I wanted to enjoy it so badly that I kind of tricked my mind into thinking I did, even though I remember finishing that book and kind of thinking, okay, well, that was kind of disappointing. So honestly, don't know why I couldn't just accept that this wasn't a book necessarily for me. So this is just one that I thought I tricked my mind into enjoying so much more than I actually did. So the next one is The Lux, which is by Anna Godspert. Okay, don't know how to say that name. And this is one that at the time I read it, again, I rated it 4 stars. So this one is kind of a historical fiction. I have to read off of Goodreads because I don't really remember a lot of it. And we're following these 2 sisters who are like the elite of Manhattan society. And basically the book starts off with you finding out that one of the sisters has died, and then you kind of backtrack and follow it up, kind of how to get up there. And it's just filled with backstabbing friends, forbidden romances, and all of that fun stuff. It's not necessarily that this book is bad, it's just not great, and apparently I thought it was. It was just annoying. Like, there was almost no likable characters, and basically this book is just a bunch of gossip and backstabbing, which after a bit, it becomes too much. I read 3 books in the series, I think, and I hadn't even reached a satisfying conclusion yet. You have to read the whole series to get it. And it just got to the point where I looked up the Wikipedia plot because I didn't want to read it. I wasn't enjoying these characters. It was no fun to be with them. And just, it wasn't interesting really. Like, compared to some other like historical dramas, this just wasn't that good. The thing I keep coming back to in my mind is just the characters were so annoying and uninteresting. I don't think this one is. I wanted to love it, because I read this kind of in a time period when I was coming off of reading a bunch of like books that were just very dramatic, full of backstabbing, unlikable people, and I'd finally been like starting to realize that I didn't love those type of books, but I don't think I truly wanted to accept it. So So, also, I did read this in like March of 2020 when like a lot of stressful stuff was going on in the world. So I can like understand that, but it just wasn't that good. Next up is one that like I read it, and I think once again I read like the whole series, and I have just blocked that from my mind. And that is like The Confessions of a Murder Suspect by James Patterson. So basically in this book we follow Tandy, whose parents are murdered one night, and she was the last person to speak with them or see them alive, and her and her 3 other siblings are the only suspects that the police have in this murder case, and it's basically following her as she tries to figure out who killed her parents. I feel like the biggest takeaway of this series is that I don't remember who did it. Yep, I have no idea who killed these people. And it's like, you'd think, you've read like a 4-book series based on this, shouldn't you? But I don't. I don't necessarily think this one was bad. I don't think it was good. I felt very detached from the characters. We were supposed to believe that these characters were like super brilliant and everything, like their parents were these amazingly successful people and so were their children, but I just couldn't feel that. The book, not a lot happened in it. It felt it was just very long and drawn out and boring. So this book necessarily isn't terrible, but like once again, it's not great, and there's just not a whole lot up there anymore. Next up is one that is a bit more redeeming, and I do think it was more of a me thing as to why I didn't love the series as much, and that's The Bells, which is by Dhonielle Clayton. Technically, I don't actually have The Bells marked as read on Goodreads. I don't think I was using Goodreads when I read it. I have its sequel, Everlasting Rose, marked as like 4 stars. I don't think my problem with the series is necessarily with The Bells. I think it's more with the sequel, Everlasting Rose. So basically in this book we follow Camille, who is a belle, and bells in this world have the ability to like control beauty because people are born like gray without anything, and so these bells have the power to give it to people. And so we follow Camille, who wants to be like the favorite belle chosen by the queen to like make the queen beautiful and all that stuff. And so basically she goes to court, she realizes things aren't as what they seem, and she has to make a choice to save the world or risk her life and change the ways of the world forever. I liked this book. The first one I definitely think I enjoyed. It was an interesting concept. I think I struggled with this book, like reading the descriptions of how they like changed people's bodies, and that's not a book thing, that's just a me being squeamish thing. So I generally do think I enjoyed the series. I enjoyed this first book at least. I enjoyed the characters. I think it was actually really interesting, and I enjoyed it. My problem was with the sequel. I thought this book was a trilogy. I can't figure out if it is, like I'm on Goodreads right now, and there's only 2 books currently published. And I think I found this book to be a lot more boring than the first one, and also the ending. The ending felt incredibly rushed to me, and it felt like there should be more. Now, once again, I don't know if that's because I thought this book was going to be a trilogy, but just, it felt rushed. It felt like there should be more. It felt like this shouldn't be the end. And so I think that's where my main complaint comes in. I gave this book 4 stars, but I remember I finished this book and I thought, well, that was kind of disappointing. Once again, kind of like with Panic, I was like, this is disappointing. But specifically with this one, I was like, I feel like there should be more to the story. I feel like she should have used another book to lengthen out the ending and not make it feel quite as rushed. So that's my gripe with The Bells and Everlasting Rose. So I know I said I was going to talk about 5 books, but the 5th book I have on this list I'm actually going to save for another video about books I loved from my childhood. I will see you all video, because I also have another book kind of listed on this, but I don't think I really forgot about that one, and I think that was a good book. So thank you guys so much for watching. Down in the description box there will be links to all of the books I talked about today, as well as my Goodreads and my Bookstagram if you want to follow me there too. Subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and I will see you all in my next video very soon. Bye!